3 years ago, I was stuck in the most brutal cycle of my life. Every day, I'd wake up with grand plans, create detailed schedules, and promise myself that today would be different. By evening, I'd collapse into bed having accomplished nothing meaningful, drowning in the familiar weight of disappointment. Then came March 15th, 3 a.m., when everything changed. What happened in those dark, silent hours wasn't just a breakthrough, it was a complete identity reset that transformed me from someone who talked about goals to someone who achieved them. Most people think their problem is lack of motivation, but the real culprit is something psychologists call identity homeostasis, your brain's hidden system that keeps you exactly who you are. This invisible force operates below your conscious awareness, maintaining your existing limitations even when you desperately want to change. Your current identity acts as an invisible prison, complete with walls you can't see and locks you didn't know existed. Every productivity method fails because they try to add new habits to an old identity that rejects them like a virus. Your brain has spent years building neural pathways that support your current self-concept. When you attempt to introduce behaviors that contradict this established identity, your mind activates powerful resistance mechanisms designed to protect what it perceives as your authentic self. Picture this. You set a goal to wake up at 5 a.m. and start a morning routine. You buy the alarm clock, plan your schedule, and feel motivated. But when that alarm sounds, your brain whispers, "That's not who we are," and your hand reaches for the snooze button before you're even fully conscious. This isn't weakness, it's identity, homeostasis in action. The system operates through specific triggers that activate this homeostatic response. Social expectations from people who know you as someone who sleeps in late reinforce your old patterns. Familiar environments like your bedroom carry the weight of thousands of previous decisions to stay in bed. Ingrained thought patterns automatically generate the same neural firing sequences that have defined your mornings for years. Your mind creates elaborate justifications to maintain the status quo while making you feel like you're genuinely trying. I need more sleep for my health. I'll start tomorrow when I'm more prepared. Morning people are just different. These aren't conscious lies, they're sophisticated defense mechanisms protecting your current identity from the threat of change. This resistance feels so natural that most people never recognize it as a systematic process. They blame their willpower, their circumstances, or their genetics. They try harder, buy different planners, or seek more motivation. But the real problem remains untouched. The identity that generated the original limitations is still intact, still operating, still maintaining the exact conditions that created their stuck state. The breakthrough comes when you realize transformation isn't about adding new behaviors to your existing identity. Real change requires creating conditions where your old identity can't survive. But knowing about identity homeostasis isn't enough. You need a specific method to bypass it entirely, which leads us to an unlikely solution. At 3 a.m., your brain enters a unique neurobiological state that doesn't exist during any other time of day, a state that naturally bypasses the resistance mechanisms keeping you stuck. This isn't about forcing yourself through another productivity technique. The 3 a.m. time slot creates perfect conditions for breakthrough work through a combination of reduced cortisol, minimal external stimuli, and altered brainwave patterns that fundamentally change how your mind processes information and makes decisions. While everyone tells you to work during peak energy hours, your most transformative work happens when your conscious resistance is at its weakest. During these early morning hours, your prefrontal cortex operates in a diminished capacity, which sounds counterproductive until you realize this is exactly what allows new neural pathways to form without interference. Your analytical mind, the same one that generates endless excuses and rationalizations during the day, simply isn't awake enough to sabotage your efforts. Strategic disappearance from your normal environment and social context removes the environmental triggers that activate identity homeostasis. When you work at 3 a.m., you're operating in a social vacuum. No one expects anything from you. No notifications demand your attention. No social comparisons pollute your focus. This isolation isn't loneliness. It's liberation from the external validation loops that normally dictate your behavior patterns. The specific neurobiological advantages compound during these hours. Your default mode network, the brain system responsible for self-referential thinking and mental wandering, shows decreased activity. Natural melatonin regulation creates heightened focus without the crashes associated with stimulants. Most importantly, your brain stops comparing your current actions to your historical patterns because those patterns don't include working at 3 a.m. The darkness and silence create a sensory deprivation effect that forces your brain to operate differently. Without visual and auditory distractions, your mind accesses creative and problem-solving capabilities normally suppressed during daylight hours. This phenomenon, called temporal displacement, makes you feel like a different person because you're operating outside your normal identity context. Your thoughts feel cleaner, your decisions feel clearer, and your actions feel more aligned with your actual goals rather than your habitual responses. This isn't just about productivity, it's about creating a space where your new identity can emerge without interference from the old one. The 3 a.m. method works because it exploits your brain's natural rhythms to create an identity-neutral zone where transformation becomes inevitable rather than forced. Understanding the science is crucial, but the real power comes from implementing the specific steps that turn this knowledge into measurable results. The 3 a.m. method isn't just a productivity hack, it's a systematic identity intervention that rewires your self-perception at the deepest level through consistent proof of execution. Each successful session creates neurological evidence that contradicts your old story about who you are and what you're capable of achieving. Implementation requires 4 specific steps that must be executed in order. Environment preparation means eliminating every potential distraction from your workspace the night before. Remove your phone, close unnecessary browser tabs, and prepare your tools. Mindset priming involves reviewing your transformation goals and visualizing successful completion before you begin. The first 21 days determine everything. Consistency during this period creates the neural pathways that make the behavior automatic. Your old identity will launch sophisticated sabotage attempts. Physical discomfort will feel more intense than usual. Rationalization will whisper that you need more sleep or that this approach is extreme. Social pressure will emerge when people notice your new schedule and question your choices. These aren't random obstacles. They're predictable resistance patterns your brain uses to maintain homeostasis. The execution framework centers on 90-minute focused work blocks. This duration aligns with your natural ultradian rhythms while preventing mental fatigue. Single tasking becomes non-negotiable. Your attention must remain locked on one objective throughout the entire session. When mental resistance arises, acknowledge it without engaging. Your goal isn't to eliminate the discomfort, but to work through it consistently. The identity shift happens gradually through accumulated evidence. After 5 successful sessions, you start thinking, maybe I'm someone who follows through. After 15 sessions, doubt creeps into your old limiting beliefs. After 30 sessions, you possess undeniable proof that you execute on commitments regardless of how you feel. Measurable results compound rapidly. Self-efficacy increases because you have concrete evidence of your ability to overcome resistance. Follow-through on daytime commitments improves because you've practiced discipline when it matters most. Small wins build unstoppable momentum that carries into every area of your life. The ultimate payoff arrives when you realize you've fundamentally changed who you are, not just what you do. After 30 days of the 3 a.m. method, you'll have concrete proof that you're someone who executes on goals, creating an irreversible shift from stuck to driven achiever. This transformation extends far beyond the work you complete in those early morning hours. The 3 a.m. method proves that transformation isn't about finding the right motivation, it's about creating the right conditions for your new identity to emerge naturally. Your current limitations are not permanent features, but temporary patterns waiting to be overwritten through consistent action during these neurobiologically optimal hours. The choice is yours. You can continue operating within the same identity prison that has kept you stuck, or you can exploit the science of neuroplasticity to become someone different. Your transformation begins with a single decision followed by relentless execution. Set your alarm for 3 a.m. tomorrow and begin the identity reset that will define the next chapter of your life.